Thanks for joining me on the game plan this week. I'm Dave Shore. Please like and subscribe to this channel because we've had 5 other guests. Today, though, I'm joined by a good friend, Raymond Ridder, who's the Senior Vice President of Communications for the Golden State Warriors, has been there for a number of years, I believe 1998, 4 World Championships, and with the Lakers before that. It has been a stellar career. Raymond, I always enjoy working with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Dave. Always a pleasure to work with you. I actually just got off vacation. I was in Paris, France for the very first time last week, so had a great time, but now back at it and ready to go.
Doesn't it seem like your NBA season lasts, well, you've been programmed into going all the way down to the end of June, but that is one long season, isn't it?
You know what? I was just telling someone yesterday, I don't think people appreciate how long an NBA season is, like what the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers did just now. For 5 years in a row, we went to the finals. Cleveland 4 times, Toronto 1 time from 15 through 19. And so say training camp starts on October 1, then you have 5, 6 or so preseason games, 82 regular season games. And if you go to the finals, you're talking anywhere from 20 to 22, 23, 24 playoff games. So you're talking, and if you win it all, you got a parade, all that stuff. So your off season is typically about 11 weeks. And then you got to get up and do it all over again. And we did that 5 years in a row, which I still can't believe, but it was great to be a part of it.
Yeah, before you won World Championship number 1 there in Golden State, Ray, did you ever feel like it would happen because you had been at a place where they knew how to win titles in Los Angeles? Of course, Boston had been a franchise championship type of team. Did you ever think that the Warriors would get to that level?
Initially, I did not. We were my first several years here. I think I've told the story before. I think we had like 8 coaches in my first 16 years here, or something like that. So it was literally one coach every other year. So that was a little interesting there. But, we got new ownership here in about 2010, and 2 guys named Joe Lacob and Peter Guber bought the Warriors. And I knew the day literally that I had a chance to meet both of those gentlemen that we had a chance to do something special. Having great ownership at the top is really key if you're going to be successful in any business. I say all the time, whether you're working for an NBA franchise, NFL, or baseball, or working at Kinko's or McDonald's, if you have good ownership at the top who's really committed to winning and doing the right things, I think you always have a chance. And when I found out that Joe and Peter bought our team and our organization and got a chance to get to know them, that doesn't mean we're going to definitely be successful, but I thought we would have a shot.
And once that feeling starts, once that kind of confidence and that air about your organization happens, what's it like?
It's unbelievable. You just to be in the running, to have a chance to win a title or to go to a championship series or the Western Conference Finals and to be in the hunt is really cool. To me, I say all the time, the most coolest aspect of everything is a parade. And I was telling Matt Tumbleson, the Timberwolves, the Thunder PR man, after they won it a couple months ago, I texted him the night before. I said, make sure you have fun tomorrow at the parade. Take your kids up on the float and just stretch your arms to the sky and just let the sun shine in, my man, because there's no feeling like being in a parade when you're going down Main Street or whatever the name of the street is, and there's a million people cheering for your players and your team, your organization. I said, everybody who works in professional sports should have an opportunity to hopefully win one championship and experience a parade, because there's nothing like it.
Yeah, and I always say everybody is rewarded because all of you, all the staff there at Golden State put in so many hours and are part of the product. I know the players and the coaches, they get a lot of the credit, but you all have made it special there at Golden State.
Yeah, you know what? You've got to have a full team, and it's amazing to see how our organization has grown. When I got here again in 1998, as you mentioned, I think was definitely less than 100. We might have had 80 full-time employees. Now that we own our own arena, Chase Center, and we have the Golden State Valkyries WNBA team, we host concerts and all that. We have close to 600 full-time employees now, I believe is what the number is. So it's pretty crazy to go from 80 or so in 1998 to close to 600 now. But everybody's a part of the machine. Like I say it all the time, like, and there's no job, obviously there are different job titles, whether you're an intern or an assistant or a coordinator or a director or a vice president. Everybody plays a key role, and if everybody isn't picking up their weight and coming through, you're going to struggle. But when everybody's in harmony and all departments are working together, it's a beautiful thing to witness.
Raymond, when you look back, a lot of guys say they want to be able to play with an all-star or play on a championship team. You get a chance to be day-to-day, shoulder to shoulder again with some true greats. Steph Curry, what has it been like to been with that young man over the years?
I would say I'm the most luckiest PR person in the history of professional sports. Actually, I should turn my camera over here. On my bulletin board in my office, I have on the wall, it says, how to get good PR. Number 1 says, have Steph Curry. Number 2 says, see number 1. Number 3 says, see number 1. And so we're blessed. He not only is an incredible basketball player, he's one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my life. He genuinely cares about everybody. He is the most accommodating superstar I've ever been around. Does he say no? Certainly says no. Everybody says no on occasion. But I don't think I've ever gone to him with something that I thought was really important that he turned down, because he realizes that, again, we all have a job to do. And part of his job as a superstar or a face of a franchise is to assist the PR department with whatever it might do, whatever they might need. Now, I don't think he's ever turned down we're on national TV 34 times this year. He's going to be asked by either ESPN or ABC or Prime or NBC, probably for 6 of those games, to do a pregame interview. He'll say yes to every single one of those. And that's not normal for a professional superstar of his stature. So it's been great. I've been the most blessed person in the world to have. I've told someone the other day, I don't think there's ever been in the history of sports a better face to a franchise, just in terms of what he means to our organization. Obviously, he's been here, he's getting ready to start his 17th year.
Good.
He's never going to leave here. And what he's done for this organization, this brand new arena that we just built, probably wouldn't be here without Steph Curry and the championships that he's helped us win. But he's the salt of the earth, man. He's the greatest human being or one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my life. And I'm really, really fortunate, and we're fortunate to have him part of our organization.
Yeah, you know what? You really do. It's all about your family too. I mean, Dell and his mom, they raised quite a family there. And I'm in North Carolina. That's where I'm based, Raymond. And Davidson basketball really took off as well in terms of popularity or whatever. It's it was really a family tradition there.
Yeah. No, the fact that you said, noted earlier that he got to watch Dell play for 16 years in the NBA, and most of his stops in Charlotte and Toronto and a couple other ones. He saw how Dell operated. And that, to me, that was a good learning lesson for him of how he should conduct himself when he gets in the NBA. But the bottom line is, when you have great parents like he does with Sonia and Dell and a great support system, you're certainly going to be on the right track. And he's just followed in his parents' footsteps.
I can't forget, you've got a talented coaching staff, but how great is Steve Kerr to work with?
Steve Kerr, I guess I'm going to probably say it too many times. I'm the luckiest guy in the world to work with Steph Curry and Steve Kerr, and probably a couple other folks you might mention. But no, he's great as well. One of the most responsive people I've ever been around. I literally texted him about 10 minutes ago, and he got back to me 2 minutes later with an answer to something I needed an answer for. But he's terrific. Again, makes my job really simple. Our job is to help publicize our team. And again, there are things he certainly says no to, but if I need something done, I can always rely on him getting it done. And I hate using the word media friendly, because that to me almost sounds like you do what the media wants. And that's, we try to help the media do their job. That is our job. But there's going to be times when we have to say no and we can't get everything done. And he understands that, but he's just been terrific for me. And forget about the basketball aspect of it, being a basketball coach. He's just such a great people person. We all go through, he's been here now for 11 years as our head coach. And even personally, I've had some deaths in my family, and he's always there, put an arm around my shoulder and just making sure we have what we need. And he just realizes that it's And I think one of the reasons he's successful, it's much more than just basketball. It's about human beings and getting along with people and supporting them, making them feel appreciated. He checks all those boxes.
Raymond, let me ask you a couple things. You just talked and you highlighted both Steph and Steve in terms of being the dream of someone in your position. Over the years, for many years, I was either hosting a pregame show or doing sideline reporting, and I felt that there's a lot of pressure on the media too to be fair and do our diligent work as well. But as far as the players, we needed them. We knew that as the media, we're the conduit many times to share what those players think to the fan base. How has it changed over the years? Are these young players getting it more in terms of what kind of tips you need to give them, or is it the old guys that understood it better?
Now, you know what? I think, the league is, well, no, since I came to the league, it's getting a lot younger. Like, there's obviously no longer high school kids coming to the league, but if you're a really good player, most of these guys now are going to school for 1 year, maybe 2 years at the most. But it's funny, I typically don't have trouble with our guys doing things because I try to put things in its simplest term. And I've gone back and forth with several guys over the year, but the line that I always use in our guys because inevitably you'll get the question when I go say, hey, will you sit down with ESPN tomorrow before the game? They'll say, well, why do I have to do that? And my response is, do you like your paycheck? And it sounds kind of funny, but what I go on to explain to them is that the players get 50% of all basketball related income. Every ticket that is sold, every jersey that is sold, all the sponsorship that gets done, all that stuff, the players get 50% of BRI. So my message to them is the more you invest, the more you're going to be on your next paycheck, or you're paying it forward for the next generation. So literally I use that line 15 times a year. Is when they say, do I have to do it? I'm like, you're just reinvesting in yourself and in the league when you do things. Because if little Johnny sees, I don't know, let's take someone on our team, Clay Thompson, who used to be here. I tell Clay, if little Johnny sees you do an interview and he runs to mommy and says, I want to go watch him play, and they buy 4 tickets and they come to a game and buy a couple jerseys and whatnot, again, the players get 50% of the league's revenue every year goes back to player salaries. So that, to me, when you put it in its simplest terms, like, why do I do it? Because you're making millions and millions of dollars. And why wouldn't you want to make more money down the road, whether that's in your next contract or the contract for the next generation?
That's a great way of explaining it. Let's talk about it as the league as a whole, okay? You know, let's just always assume nothing's ever perfect. We always got to maybe perfect the system a little bit. We used to market in the NBA the franchises, the Lakers versus Celtics. Then we had a run of players. Who is best when you throw the marketing concept of the league in general around where we are right now in the league?
In terms of best, in terms of like the face of the league, in terms of the players,
Yeah, is it still franchises and dynasties and rivals?
yeah.
Or is it strictly people are watching because of their favorite players across the board?
I think they're coming to watch their favorite players. And I can say that from experience, especially being here with Steph for the last 17 years. You know, from what I can gather, there are 2 guys that really drive ratings in the NBA right now, and that's LeBron and Steph. And someone once told me they could put them on ABC, and then we could play a high school team and the ratings would still be great. The Lakers with LeBron could play a junior college team on ABC or ESPN and the ratings would still be great. So I still think it's the superstars that really attract that attention. But to me, it's also a double-edged sword because, when you have these great rivalries and these dynasties, when you have growing up in LA and working for the Lakers earlier in my career, to have the Lakers Celtic rivalry, that was really, really cool. There's nothing like those 2 times a year when the East would play the West, Magic against Bird. So to me, it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you. But I think the league is doing a great job now, with the parity that we see in our league. So it's going to be about the fan base seeing, there's been 7 different champions, I believe, in the last 7 years. So that's probably good for the NBA in the long run because you get a chance to even out the wealth and you get to build whatever more fan bases in places like Toronto and Oklahoma City and Milwaukee and some of these other cities that hadn't had championships in a little while. So me personally, sure, would I love to be a part of a dynasty that wins 4 titles over 8 years? Yeah, that'd be great. But it's probably better for the league when you see a bunch of teams that are winning over several different years. It just gives a bigger piece of the pie to everybody.
You've worked with and you've had respect for a lot of greats that have played in this game. Let's talk about the guy over my left shoulder. I look at that photo every day. That was John Ireland and I with Kobe Bryant on Media Day years ago. I still can't believe that Kobe's gone. It's so hard to believe because he was such an amazing person, both on and off the court, wasn't he?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. What I can't like you said, I can't believe he's gone. I remember when he passed away several years ago. I just happened to be in Wichita, Kansas. I believe it was in January. I'm not sure why I was there. I'm from Wichita, but I was back there for I think a Shockers game and a weekend where we didn't have a Warriors game. And when the news came through, and I just like everybody else, I couldn't believe it. And my favorite Kobe memory, I say, well, two things stand out to me about him is when I was with the Lakers in the summer of '96, when Jerry West walked in my office and said, "Hey, we're working out this 17-year-old kid. You want to come watch?" And I had no idea who he was. So me, Jerry West, Mitch Kupchak, and John Black hop into Jerry's car. He takes us to Inglewood High School, and he had Kobe go against Michael Cooper, who, as you know, Michael was retired by this point in time, but
Sure.
Michael was never out of shape. He always weighed 185 pounds or whatever and was thin as a rail, 6'6" or whatnot. But he had Kobe go one-on-one against Michael Cooper, and literally Jerry watched him for 10 minutes. He looked at all of us and said, "He's better than anybody we have on our team right now. Let's get out of here." And he got back to his office and tried to swing that trade that he eventually did with Charlotte to trade Vlade Divac and get Kobe. And the other thing about Kobe, his desire to win and want to be the best and the work that he put in. Like, the way I think I've been successful for 35 years in this league is trying to work hard. To me, working hard is a skill, just like jumping's a skill, shooting's a skill. The ability to work hard and to really have passion for your craft is what I think separates a lot of people. And Kobe was typically the first one to the gym, the last one to leave. You would hear about his off-season workouts, the amount of time working, getting up in the morning and working out early in the morning, again at noon, then again in the evening. Like he wanted to be the best, and he wasn't scared to put in the time to be the best. So just one of my all-time favorite players. And yeah, I can't believe that he's gone, but what a legacy he left in this league and this world.
Thank you for sharing those stories. I always like to make sure that we keep his memory alive through some great storytelling as well. Let's talk about your job as a career in a couple areas, and then we do a little rapid fire before we end this podcast. Raymond Ridder,
Sure.
let me focus on. Okay, we're going to sound like old guys for a minute, but you probably used to put game notes together with a typewriter, and you put together a lot of stats that maybe everyone wouldn't find so easily. So in this day of data and statistics being so readily available, how much of a challenge is it to tell us something we don't know, or how do you decide what to put out there?
Yeah, it is a little bit of a challenge. Fortunately, when I was with the Lakers, like you said, those 6 years I was full time, I did the game notes for every game. And let me tell you, if you want to do a good job on those, it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, with the Warriors, we have a guy named Daryl Arata, who's absolutely the best in the business. The guy's a machine. He's got this routine where he stays up after games to get our notes done. So he doesn't come in till noon on game days, but then he'll stay up till 5 a.m. after the game to make sure when I wake up the next morning, myself, all of our beat writers, our opponents' beat writers, our opponents' broadcasters, everybody have all the notes. So you got to have a good notes guy, and Daryl is the best in the business. So yeah, but to your point, it is hard to find the good stats. What I try to convince Daryl is anything you put in the game notes or the media guide, and our media guide now is like, I think when I used to be with the Lakers, it used to be like 200 pages. Now I think our media guide's like 500 pages long.
My goodness.
But yeah, but it's about I tell them, try to find those stats that you think a broadcaster would use on the air. Like, you don't need to know that Steph scored 27 points in a game at Charlotte last year. You need to know maybe what is Steph's all-time highest scoring output against Charlotte, or what team does he average most points against during his NBA career? Or one thing when I was with the Lakers, I was so lucky I got to sit next to Chick Hearn for every broadcast at the Forum. So I would continuously send him notes that he would use on the air. And then, whether that'd be like, hey, this is the 12th straight game that Shaq has made at least 5 free throws, which is a career high for him. So those are the things I used to love to look up as the game notes guy. And even this day and age, when I'm not responsible for that every day, I still nothing satisfies me more than to come up with a good nugget that not only our broadcasters reuse, but as you know, Dave, you can also use those numbers and stuff
Yep.
to tell a story or to pitch a story. Like, and I just love giving that information to whether it's Mike Breen at ESPN or Tim Roy, our radio broadcaster, or Bob Fitzgerald. Again, I tell our staff all the time, it's our job to help do the media's job and make their broadcasts better and act like we're a producer and put our shoes in their seats and whatnot to do what we can to make their product better.
And let me say this at the same time. You guys are great hosts. I came in there with opposing teams many times, and you always made us feel special. Even though we were the road team, you always acknowledged all of the broadcasters from who were coming in throughout the league. And I really appreciated that. It's always a great place to come. You've always treated the media well.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, we take a great deal of pride in trying to, you know, our title is media relations, but it's also media services.
Sure.
And truly, what I said earlier, we take really, really seriously. And then our job is to, whether you're a broadcaster or a beat writer or whatever, producer, direct, is to help you do your job. Because when you do your job at a high level, that means the fans are becoming more engrossed in the game. They're getting a better product. And again, it goes back to my earlier comment. What happens then? They're going to watch more on TV. They're going to drive up TV ratings. They're going to actually want to go to a game. So it all comes together. The better job we do, the better we make our product look overall and gets fans excited about what we're doing every day.
No, that's amazing. All right. Tell me what the amount and the influx of social media has meant to your job, both good and bad, over the years.
Well, I would say number one is there's just so much more media now than there used to be. You know,
Yep.
you could, you know, I'll just make up a name, Fred Jones. Fred Jones can start fredjones.com and send me an email saying, hey, fredjones.com. I've got a bunch of people that listen to my podcast or a bunch of people that look at my website every day. Can I come to a Warrior game? And obviously we don't allow that to happen, although we do work with an X number of fan sites that have a reputation of being doing things the right way and have a certain amount of following. But there's just so much more media now than there used to be. So to me, with all of that anybody has a voice. Like, seriously, whether
Yeah.
the line I always use, and it's no disrespect to the city of Omaha, but I always joke around when people get frustrated with what's on Twitter. I always just say, why do you care about what Johnny in Omaha has to say? Just don't let that bother you. It's like, it's inconsequential. But as you know, a lot of people pay attention to that stuff. But there's just much more media now than there used to be, and that's not only due to all the TV networks and radio affiliates, but it's Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and the instantaneous information that you get. But to me, again, the more coverage we have of our league, the better. But you have to do a good job in sifting through and making sure that you're dealing with the people who are going to help you get your bang for your buck. Like one area where we're lucky at here in the NBA is like we have practices. Well, we don't practice as much as we used to, but say in any given week we might have a practice or two. And so if I get someone that wants to get a credential for a game who I don't recognize, they've started a website. Obviously, I'm not going to allow them to come to a game. But if it's somebody I spend some time with on the phone, get a feel for who they are and what they're doing, we might even invite them to come to a practice. Come sit in the interview room after practice, and if you want to ask Coach Kerr a question, and I can help you maybe get your feet started or your feet under you to get started on your website or whatever it is that you might be putting together to help get your career started, that's something we can do via practice. But the bottom line is there's just so many more media than there was before. I try not to let it bother me too much about some of the stuff that's out there because bottom line, at the end of the day, you like the fandom. You like people who care about your product. I say all the time, you got to worry when people don't care about what you're doing.
That's a great one. And you talk about people getting their start. I hope that people watch the game plan as young, up and coming people in our business, as well as parents who might be pointing their kid in the right direction. So if someone wants to get in the area of what you do right now, which is, I think, an incredible world, what advice do you give them, Raymond?
My advice is, well, three things. Well, one thing and then two things as a spinoff of that. Do an internship. When I was going to Cal State San Bernardino down in Southern California, my freshman year, I started to hound the Lakers about getting an internship. I didn't get it until my senior year. I lived 90 miles away, and I think they were a little fearful of is this kid going to want to drive 90 miles in each direction for free for an internship? But it was the best thing I ever did. Did that for 2 years, ended up getting hired full time as the Lakers assistant PR director, but do an internship. And if you want to be in the NBA, try to get it in the NBA, but get your foot in the door somewhere. And when you do get your foot in the door, two things I always say: attitude and work ethic. If you work hard and you have a great attitude, you're going to be successful. I mean, to me, that I say that every time I go speak to a group of youngsters is
Yeah.
work hard and have a great attitude. I guess the third thing would be a great teammate. I was telling somebody the other day, we had to fill out a little document that said, what are some of our principles or whatnot. And one of mine's is to make sure you care about the success of other people as much as you do yours. And I mean that by like the team that we have here with the Warriors. If someone from our marketing department or our sponsorship department needs something, I need to come through for that person and right away. This is a priority for me. I'm not going to wait. It's Monday. I'm not going to wait till Friday to get to it. I need to take just as much stock in helping them succeed at their job as I take in exceeding and being successful in my day-to-day PR job. Because at the end of the day, we're all either going to be successful together or we're all going to fail together.
No, that's fun memories indeed. Raymond, next time you text Coach, tell him Shore says hi, and let's make sure we stay in touch. Thanks so much for your time. You really made this a great game plan.